A retired Seventh Adventist pastor has been charged with grooming and SA of minors. This has been reported by Adventist Today. I'm going to share the article with you so that we can go through it. And I'm going to talk about why am I talking about it. As perhaps some of you would say, well, he's retired. Why do we need to know about this? Well, if you are new, my name is Joanna Daniel. I'm a trauma-informed counselor. I live in the UK. I'm the founder of Wounds to Scars. We work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and women who experience abuse. Many of the people that we work with at Wounds to Scars are Christian women in particular who have experienced SA and domestic abuse within the context of church, sometimes on the premises, sometimes by people who are in leadership. And that's why we talk about it, because I believe that the church, if we educate the church, if we talk about these uncomfortable conversations, then victims doesn't have to shrink. Many times victims have had to leave church. Many times church hurt piles on top of the pain of the abuse that they've already experienced. And so that's why I believe that's why I'm talking about it. That's why I write courses about it. And that's why that's why today I wanted to talk about this particular case, because as you'll see, I'm going to share my screen and just share why this is relevant and what I believe that the church can learn from this particular case. I believe there's much to learn from it, and maybe something that was missed by the people that managed him before. So I'm going to share it, and I'm going to go through the article with you from Adventist Today. So this is the article from Adventist Today. Retired Adventist pastor charged with grooming and SA of children. And this is reported by the Catoosa County in Georgia, their news outlet. He's a 77-year-old Clyde Thomas, and he was charged inappropriately touching underage girls. He was jailed and he's now out on bond. He is out. And so sometimes you wonder, why are these people, being let out of prison? But there you go. Now, this is why it was reported. There was somebody who was going to a wedding with him and decided that they didn't want to go because they didn't want him to, according to the affidavit, they didn't want him to harm other young people. And I think that was wonderful that the alarm was raised and that something was done about it. But this is what caught my attention as I was reading it. So these are the things that he was arrested on the 26th of September, and he was charged with grooming a minor, child molestation, and aggravated SA, and enticing a child for indecent purposes. But here is where I found particularly interesting. They said a 2012 docket shows him as having involved in an indecent exposure incident, taking nude pictures of a female in public. And after which he appears to have continued his ministry. And that's the part that is interesting to me. So he had this charge in 2012, and he continued his ministry. Now, this is where we continually have a problem. Being charged is not the same as found guilty, and that's true. However, law enforcement does not make an arrest without credible evidence. So being charged is not the same as being found guilty. And these are things that is in an affidavit. He was arrested. He's out on bond. So, some people might say, shouldn't people be innocent until proven guilty? There is no, he's not been charged. He's been charged, but he's not guilty. We don't know that yet. I'm just reading what was published by Adventist Today, what is in the affidavit, and what other news outlets are reporting. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it was, even though he was charged with taking pictures, he continued in his ministry. This is where we have many problems in our church, in the Seventh Adventist Church, in many Christian denominations. There'll be reports, people are charged, and nothing happens afterwards. No safeguardings are put in place, no guardrails. Somebody can have unobstructed access to children and young people and women and vulnerable adults and they can have these access still. So, we don't know what was done. We don't know what was done for what those other churches where he was serving. We do not know what they do. But I do know that if somebody was charged with something like that and still is in leadership, there's a massive risk to people, everybody he's leading. And how does somebody who was charged with that get to continually lead? And again, being charged is not the same thing as being guilty. But as the article says, the police doesn't usually charge you without a cause. And how does he still get to be in leadership and continue to preach, and continue to do the things that he was doing? And so that is why, and I'm not charging anybody with guilty before the law has done that. I know that there are many people who have been wrongfully accused. I know that too. But a pattern that we see in Christian spaces is that people get to continually serve and doing what they're doing. I've done a few videos on Robert Morris, who was given 10-year sentence. He's only serving 6 out of that 10, and maybe not all the 6. We talk about other people in leadership who there will be disclosures and nothing gets done, nothing gets to happen. And I think unless we continue talking about these uncomfortable subjects, church leadership will continue to do things the way they've always done it. There will be an allegation and there'll be nothing happen. The pastor will be moved on to another place. He'll have another congregation who knew nothing about it. Sometimes they're whisperings, sometimes they're whisperings in congregations, like, guess what that leader did, guess what that pastor did. And I say to people who are doing the whispering, don't do whispering. If you have information that will be useful in an investigation that the church is doing, it is our responsibility to make those things available to leadership. Otherwise, the whispering and the gossiping really doesn't help to solve the problem. We want to also be a part of the problem, the solution, that this problem, it's not only now become a massive problem, it has been a massive problem for many, many years. 1 in 3 we know will experience SA, women, 1 in 6 men. And that's reported statistics, not the people that we don't get to hear about, not the people that we don't know about. We know the colossal impact of SA on somebody's life. We know that they are, there's mental health. We know about depression and anxiety. We know about post-traumatic symptoms. We know about many other mental health conditions that comes as a result of that. We know about the physical health impacts of repressed trauma when people experience SA in childhood, and fear and whatever else is happening, that it's not managed and it's not dealt with. So we know all of that. So it really is important for a Christian spaces, for churches, to take allegations of SA seriously, to know the signs of grooming, to know and understand the signs of grooming, that we can spot what this looks like. We can know the characteristics of the people that groom. We can know the steps that they take. We can know it, we can see it, and we can be unafraid of doing something about it. We teach that in our safe relationship guide and training, and very soon you'll be able to, our CPD library will be opening very soon. You can go ahead and access those resources at your own pace and time. But it's so important for people to understand what grooming looks like. What does it look like? What are the signs of grooming? Who gets groomed? And we have videos here on this channel around who gets groomed and what are the signs of grooming. And sometimes you will send me a message and say, hey, that is me, I've experienced that. But if there are many people who do not know what it is, and so they're falling into the trap of perpetrators. And so we can't just sit back while vulnerable people are falling into the hands of perpetrators and we do nothing about it. So we continue to educate. Take this education in your church, make it not a one-off incident, a one-off weekend or a day when we are educating our church around what grooming looks like, what does abuse look like, and the signs of abuse, and how to do that. It's really important for us to, every member is responsible. All of us have a duty of care to protect children and young people and vulnerable adults. So it's important that we know what that looks like. I'm always, humbled by the courage of leaders that will step out and do that and say, we want to know. And we don't just want a weekend or a day. We want you to train us. We want this to be ongoing work so that we can understand what it looks like. And, these are people that are making decisions that our church is going to be a safe church. Now, if we can get more people to sign up to say our church is going to be safe spaces, and leadership, that's your responsibility. I said that all of us have a responsibility, but the decision makers, but members, know that you are the church members meeting is the highest authority of the church. And oftentimes we don't know that. Oftentimes we don't know that we have power. Oftentimes, and I'm speaking for Seventh-day Adventists, oftentimes we don't know that we can, in meetings, we can vote, we can ask for things, we can press for things, we can, these are elected people that work for the church, and we are the members, we make up the church. We can press leadership for things to change. We have that, but we've never exercised our power. We've never exercised our right to ask for change and to press for change and to lobby for change and to continually asking for something to be done so that no more children, so that our children can be safe at church and not be vulnerable, so that no more family should leave church out of shame, driven away because they've been harmed by a leader, and we've taken the side of the leader. Many times that happen. Families where something has happened, a disclosure is made, and that family has to leave because they're pressed to forgive. Nothing happens to that person in leadership. They're moved on, or they can serve. Nobody obstruct them, nobody stops them, and they can continue serving in leadership. And this family who are harmed and hurt has to leave. That shouldn't happen again. If all of us come together and says, not on my watch, this will not happen in my church. I'm going to cooperate with leadership. I'm going to join leadership. I'm going to lobby leadership. I'm going to press. I'm going to ask questions. And I'm not stopping until something has changed in my congregation. I have children, and I want them to be safe in the churches that I worship in. I want my children to be safe, and I'm thankful for my pastor. I'm thankful for the leadership that is around, that they respond, that they answer questions, that they really care about this issue. They really care about this issue and want something to be done about it. So if your leader, if you're in a church where things are happening, don't gossip over potluck about it. Don't gossip over lunch about it. Talk about it. Write letters. Ask questions. Press your leader. Not when they move the church and there's whisperings that follow them. Ask questions. Press leadership. Ask, lobby for change.